Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. As you know, I like to bring you cutting edge, up to the minute content. So today we're going to take a look at Star Wars Destiny, the two-player game which came out about a year ago and most people probably don't care about anymore. Now, this is a game that originally I had no interest in purchasing. It came out and it's a collectible game. You have to buy blind bags which have cards and dice in. I don't care for the collectible trading format at all, and I'm not going to get into it in too much detail here, but I'm not a massive fan of Star Wars. I know, shock horror. I like Star Wars, I like the movies, but I'm not a massive fan, and I don't go out of my way to acquire Star Wars licensed products. I don't actually have any Star Wars games other than the one that I'm holding in my hand right now. But the thing is, I was recently in a discount store, one of the high street stores that occasionally get in discounted products, and this was on the shelf, and they had a few copies of it, and I should imagine other branches of the same store have copies as well. So this is a Fantasy Flight Games product which has suddenly sort of found its way into a high street store, and there's going to be a chance that some people who don't really know what it's all about are going to see it, and you're going to get grands or whatever saying, "Oh, little Timmy likes Star Wars, and look, there's a lovely Star Wars game," and they may not exactly know what they're buying. So I wanted to do a little bit of content on this just because I picked it up. It was cheap. It was like $12.99, which is I think the original price was £28, which is quite a lot for what is in this box in terms of components and also game. But for $12.99, I thought it was worth picking up to check it out for myself, do a little bit of content. I like to have diverse content across my blog, Always Bored, Never Boring, and also here on YouTube. So that's kind of why I've got it. But the other reason is because, there's going to be people that don't really necessarily know what it is that are going to pick it up, and they might be a little bit disappointed because I opened this box earlier, I took off the shrink wrap, and I took a quick look at the components, and I have to say I had a pretty negative reaction to it. It does a few things that I dislike, and it's not any one thing, and I don't think it's anything that hasn't been done by other companies in the past, but maybe I just expected a little better from Fantasy Flight Games, or maybe it's just because it was that certain combination of those things altogether. But I can certainly see people who don't know what the product is exactly, anybody who just sees it as a two-player game, being somewhat disappointed once they actually open it up and take a look. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to open it up and take a look. But first of all, I wanted to very briefly, just I can't get all of this in shot, I don't think, but could this game look any more like a Hasbro product? It's there's just something about it. It has that Hasbro look, and even it's a cheapy card box. It's a cheapy end flap box with cheapy corrugated card. Not even very good corrugated card. It's not what you normally get from a Fantasy Flight Games product. I mean, I'm used to very nicely packaged products with beautiful artwork, and this just doesn't really seem to have that look. That was what immediately struck me. But the other thing that immediately became apparent is, like I say, I know that this is a collectible card game with blind packaged boosters that you buy to expand your collection of dice and cards. But this box does not say that anywhere. It says, Star Wars Destiny, two-player game. It says, it contains 48 cards and 16 premium dice. It then says it's a dice and card game, in case you hadn't worked that out from the 48 cards and 16 premium dice. But it does not say this is a starter set. It does not say this is not a complete game out of the box. On the back of the box, it has pictures of the dice and the cards, and it says you can take control of your favourite Star Wars characters, which is only true if your favourite Star Wars characters are not Han Solo, not Luke Skywalker, not Darth Vader, and not Brienne of Tarth. If those are your favourite characters, then you're good to go. Otherwise, you're probably going to be disappointed because, really, how many people want to play as Captain Phasma? Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. The other thing, it says down here, this product contains all the dice, cards, and tokens. All the dice. That's a stretch. Cards and tokens needed for 2 players to start playing the game. That word "start" is the only indication that this is not a complete game and it is a starter set. It doesn't say starter set anywhere, and I think that's a little bit off, really, because you can play. You can play with what's in the box, but as we will see, it's not all the dice and cards you need to play the full game. Anyway, when you open the box up, you get a nice sheet of tokens, including shield tokens that look like helmets. Go figure. This is the usual Fantasy Flight Games quality. Nothing much to say there other than the fact they're a little bit generic. You get a tray of dice and these cards, for 48 dice and 48 cards and 16 dice, and lots of glare and reflections. We will look at those in more detail in a moment, because the other thing is you get this plastic baggie with some paperwork in it. Now, I opened this and I immediately thought, wow, they've done a little small mini rules book. And then I realised, no, that's a promo book, just advertising all of their other games, whatever they may be. The actual rules of the game are here on what I thought was a quick start rules book, because it's only a single piece of paper. And this is a quick start rules, but it's also the only rules they give you. I'm sure it's all of the rules, but all of the main rules, I should say, because this irked me a little bit. And again, you know, if you get someone who's bought this for their son or daughter or grandchild, and they get this, and then it says here, you can find more game terms and frequently asked questions in the rules reference document on our website. So basically, if you want the full rules that have all of the keywords and all of the clarifications and things like that, you have to download them from the website. That irks me a little bit. I mean, put something in the box. There's not a lot in this box. You put in the proper full rules reference. I realised that eventually, as you release more cards and dice, that rules reference will need updating, and then, you know, you can put that on the website as an update. But I think in the first instance, a physical copy of it is the least you can do for someone buying your game. But, you know, that's just me. The other thing, it talks about, at the end, it talks about customization. And if you've looked at this first, this is going to be the first instance where it talks about the fact that you can do more than what's actually in the box. The other thing that's the giveaway, and like I say, this isn't mentioned on the outside of the box at all, but there is a flyer inside which says Empire at War booster packs. 5 cards and 1 premium die per pack in a blind bag. This is the first mention of booster packs. It's not on the box. It's the first mention of booster packs, and it's the first mention of blind bags. It's the first mention of it being a collectible game. There was no mention of it being collectible, tradable, anything like that. And that is a bit off to me as well, because that's something that I think someone should be able to tell up front from the box. And you can't. So anyway, yeah, it talks about customization in the rules, and this is where you realise a few things. For a start, it says the starter decks in this box have 20 cards each, but a standard deck is exactly 30 cards. So you're not getting 2 full decks in this box. You're getting 2 starter decks of 20 cards each. That's pretty standard with a lot of trading card games and things, but again, it's stretching that term of all the dice and cards you need to play, because it's all the dice and cards you need to play a bit of a game. And then you read about the deck building, and you realise it's, you know, there are, you know, villain cards and hero cards, and you can't have hero cards and villain cards in the same deck. What else is there? You can't have more than 2 copies of the same card. There's other restrictions that make you realise that you're probably going to need to buy, a good dozen packs of boosters, which are about £3 each in the UK. But you're going to buy probably a good half dozen boosters just to get the basic number of cards necessary to have 2 30-card decks, without even worrying about whether they're good or not. The other thing, which I find incredibly irksome, is that the characters in this game have 2 levels. Because the way this game works is you build a team of characters, you have 30 points, and you buy characters up to the value of 30 points, and then you've got a hand of 30 cards which have events and things like that. So over the course of the game, your characters are in play, you use resources to bring in other cards. Some cards have dice associated with them, and then at certain points you can activate cards to roll the dice associated with them and then do actions with those dice. It's pretty straightforward and seems quite clean and actually quite fun. But I haven't actually played it yet to be able to confirm that. But yeah, on first blush, it looks like a decent game. But yeah, each character has 2 points values. It has, like Phasma here, has 9 and 13. You pay 9 points if you take the card with 1 dice. You pay 13 points if you take the card with 2 dice. This starter set only has 1 dice for each character, and I have no bloody idea which booster packs, because there's 4 waves of boosters now, has this particular character in it that to even have an opportunity to get the second dice to do the elite version of the character. So, to my mind, that's basically saying buy 2 of these player sets. You have to buy 2 of these. 2 of these, and remember, 28 quid originally. So even at $12.99, I felt that it was just about reasonable at that price. I sure as heck wouldn't want to buy 2 boxes of it, and I hate having too many duplicate cards and things, but buying the second box just to get the second dice, that seemed a little bit iffy to me as well. And yeah, there's something about the distribution of the blind packaging as well. You get 5 cards and 1 dice in each pack, and I don't believe there's any guarantee that the dice included works with any of the dice that are included, any of the cards that are included. So you could end up with 5 cards you don't need with a dice that you don't need, and you could very quickly sort of accumulate a lot of booster packs just to get something vaguely usable. Again, that's the collectible format. I mean, some people love the collectible format, some people don't. I'm not going to try and convince someone either way. I mean, you either like it or you don't, and there's obviously a market for collectible stuff. My daughter loves opening blind bags of stuff, and I'm sure there must be loads of gamers who really enjoy that thrill of opening a foil wrapper to see, if they've got that thing they needed, or if they've got something exciting they weren't expecting. So I'm not going to say that people are wrong for liking it, but for me personally, it's just a format I don't like. It's just not a format I enjoy, and yeah, there's a lot of issues I see with if you didn't know what you were getting when you bought this game. What you've ended up with is 2 small form decks. They're not complete decks. The non-elite versions of the characters with no opportunity to make them the elite characters, and the prospect of having to buy a whole heck of a lot of booster packs just to get 2 usable decks of full 30-card decks. Because, like I say, I mean, there's a colour situation as well, where you've got red cards and blue cards and grey cards, and the way that the deck building works, you can have certain combinations of cards and things like that. So it's sort of that thing of where you're going to have to keep buying more and more cards just to get those combinations you need. And yeah, I knew what it was when I bought the starter set. I wanted to buy it just because I was interested to check it out for myself, because I hadn't, and because I wanted to do some coverage of it. But yeah, I think there's going to be some people possibly going into a high street store and buying something which they're then not overly happy with for one reason or another. Here's another reason not to be that happy. I think these dice are horrible. I don't necessarily know how they could have got around it. I mean, they're large and they're screen printed. They had to be large because you have to get the image of the character and the symbols on it, and it has to be big enough to read. It has to be clear. But large dice, really large dice, don't feel as pleasing to roll, especially if you've got, if you've got 2 or 3 of these in your hand at once. It's it just doesn't feel like a satisfying roll. And also the screen printing is not great. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got like sort of creases in it, like smears. It's really odd, and they feel really glossy, and again, it's got that sort of Hasbro cheapy mass-produced feel to it. And I'm sure they're not cheapy. I'm sure these actually cost a fortune to make. But it almost feels like the game mechanisms have sort of outpaced the technology required to make really nice dice that go with it. So yeah, I'm not overly impressed with the dice, particularly because eagle-eyed viewers may have already noticed this. Look at the state of that. I mean, they've not even managed to line the image up on the dice properly. It looks rubbish. I mean, it looks like someone's applied stickers badly. It looks like the old mass-produced games that have the sticker dice, where you have to apply all the stickers before you begin, and that's what that looks like to me. It looks like someone's put the stickers on and not done a very good job of it. So yeah, so that's a bit blur. The cards seem nice enough. The artwork is, on the whole, decent. I think Fantasy Flight Games are known for really nice artwork, but I find a lot of their Star Wars stuff to be a little bit iffy. I mean, some of it's really nice. I mean, there's some really good artwork in there, but there's also some. I mean, that's a really cool piece of art. So yeah, a lot of their artwork is fantastic. Fantasy Flight Games, well known for their good art. But yeah, I've seen a couple of pieces of their Star Wars art which I've looked at and thought, oh, that's pretty awful. That's quite an awkward shot. I'm not quite sure about that one. It's Darth's face. Darth not in this game. He may well be in boosters and expansions. I'm sure he is in boosters and expansions. But yeah, this pack is Force Awakens characters. Like I say, it's Kylo Ren and Phasma and Poe and Rey. They sound like Teletubbies. But there are images of classic characters in the cards, and I'm sure there are more classic characters in the boosters. But yeah, so I mean, the game seems pretty straightforward. You have in this starter set, you would have Captain Phasma and Kylo Ren in play against the Teletubbies, and yeah, you play cards using the cards have resources. Here's the resources. You pay 2 resources. You can bring this card into play. Some of them are upgrades that you attach to characters in play. Others are events that sort of play and discard, and some are support cards, which are like units of warriors, like the droids here. And then some of the cards have dice associated with them. So when you play the card, you find the relevant dice, you put it on the card, and then as an action, you can roll the dice, and then on a subsequent turn you can use the results of those dice to do different things. On the card it shows the different faces of the associated dice on it, and that all seems pretty good, and it seems pretty accessible. The rules seem pretty straightforward, and so in that respect, I think anybody who sort of does go into a store and says, "Oh, look, little Timmy likes Star Wars, he'll love that," little Timmy probably will, because it's rolling dice and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's going to be some sort of special rules on cards that have more complex interactions, but the basic flow of the game and the basic mechanisms involved, it all seems pretty straightforward, and I think most people will be able to pick that up. I think they've put 8+ as the age limit on the game. Yay! So yeah, I think it's accessible enough in that regard, but it just left me with a negative feeling when just the general sense of a lack of quality in the dice, and in the not having a complete rule book, finding out that they're not complete decks of cards, finding out that there aren't enough dice to use the elite versions of the characters, and not even including enough dice to have those elite versions of the characters, or to know where to get those elite versions. Don't consider buying them singly online either. I did a little bit of research on that, and I think people are charging like £5 a dice just to get your second Kylo Ren or your second Phasma. Yeah, and then like the whole customization thing that's collectible with blind bags, the distribution of the blind bags, none of which is clearly evident on the box. I don't know. I'm interested to get the game to the table. I'm interested to give it a try. At the moment, I think it's going to have to really blow me away before I would consider investing more into it. It's certainly not a game where I would want to be a completionist. I think, like I said, I think they've already got 4 waves of boosters on the go at the moment. But if it really blows me away, then maybe I would invest a little more in it. I might pick up a few booster packs just so I can open a couple of those on video and just see what that's all about, because at the moment, like I said, I'm just talking theoretically. I don't have any of the booster packs, so I can't sort of say whether I feel like the distribution in the packs is horrible, or whether there's any other issues with that. But overall, I'm in two minds at the moment. It doesn't feel like a Fantasy Flight Games product. It doesn't feel like, from the company that kind of invented the living card game format that means you don't have to chase rare cards or do horrible things like that. For a company that's they're known for expansions. They're known for releasing a product and then you need to buy 2 starter sets for it before you go anywhere. But I don't know. This one felt cynical to me, I guess. And like I say, some people aren't going to agree with that sentiment. And that's just my personal opinion. And we'll see. Hopefully, the game will prove to be strong enough that my gut reaction, my negative reaction to opening the box, is sort of washed away. But we will see, won't we? In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I will see you all again in another video. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.